My husband kissed me on our kitchen camera, then turned around and proposed to another woman on a live stream 12 minutes later. I watched it happen from a hotel room in Phoenix, my conference badge still hanging around my neck, my coffee gone cold, while 18,000 strangers filled the chat with hearts and congratulations. The ring he held up was my grandmother's. My name is Mara Whitcomb, I'm 34, and until last September I lived in Portland, Oregon, with my husband, Evan Whitcomb, 36, in a blue Craftsman house on Southeast Salmon Street. Evan worked remotely as a product manager for a software company called Bright Ledger, making $142,000 a year. I ran a small branding studio from the converted attic, mostly designing logos and packaging for local bakeries, florists, and coffee shops. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Our mortgage was $3,180 a month, our emergency fund sat at $41,600, and every Friday night we ordered Thai food from Lemongrass House and ate it on the floor with our golden retriever, Maple, drooling beside us. Evan was charming in that quiet, dependable way people trust too easily. He remembered my coffee order, warmed my car on frosty mornings, and sent my mother flowers every year on her birthday. When my father had surgery in 2021, Evan drove 6 hours to Boise with me and slept upright in a hospital chair, holding my hand while the vending machine hummed in the hallway. "You don't have to be strong every second," he whispered then, rubbing circles on my knuckles. That was the man I thought I married on June 18, 2016, under a white tent in Hood River with rain tapping softly overhead. That was the man who cried during our vows and promised, no secrets. No separate lives. Just us. The first odd thing happened on May 3, a Wednesday. Evan's phone lit up at 11:47 p.m. while he was brushing his teeth, buzzing against the nightstand like an angry insect. The screen showed a notification from an app one didn't recognize, Vellum Live. The message preview said, "Mason, she loved the bracelet." When I asked about it, Evan walked out of the bathroom with mint foam still at the corner of his mouth. "It's work," he said quickly. "Beta testing a creator platform. Mason is a test account." His voice sounded normal, but his ears had gone red. After that, small things collected like dust in corners. A $612 charge from a jewelry boutique in Scottsdale on our Visa. 3 late-night strategy calls from the garage, where I could hear him laughing in a lower voice through the door. A new black hoodie he said he bought at Target, even though the tag read Veil and Company, stitched in silver thread. On June 19, the day after our anniversary, I found a receipt in his jeans for a ring cleaning at Harlow Fine Jewelry. The description said, "Vintage sapphire, oval cut." My grandmother's ring had an oval sapphire. My discovery came on September 14 in Phoenix. I was there for a design conference at the Biltmore, wearing a navy blazer that suddenly felt too tight around my shoulders. My afternoon session had been cancelled, so I went back to my hotel room, kicked off my flats, and opened my laptop to check the kitchen camera because our dog walker had texted that Maple refused to come inside. The camera feed showed Evan standing at our island in Portland, wearing that black Veil and Company hoodie. He was holding my grandmother's ring up to the light. My stomach tightened so hard I pressed my palm against it. Then he looked straight at the camera and smiled. "Hey, Mar," he said softly, like he knew I might be watching. "Conference going okay?" I called him immediately. "Why are you holding my grandmother's ring?" I asked. There was a pause. I heard the refrigerator hum through the camera feed and through the phone, a strange echo from 2 states away. "I was going to surprise you," he said. "Get it reset." "You mentioned the prongs were loose." "I never said that." "Mara, you're tired. We'll talk when you're home." His voice went flat at the edges. My fingers trembled over the trackpad as another notification popped up on my laptop from a suggested livestream. "Mason Vale is live, the future starts tonight." I clicked. The screen filled with Evan's face, but not Evan. His hair was styled differently, his glasses gone, his smile brighter and rehearsed. Behind him was a rented-looking room with gold curtains and a neon sign that said Vale Nation. A woman with glossy brown hair sat beside him, crying happy tears. He lifted my grandmother's ring. "Lena," he said, "you believed in me before anyone else did. Will you build forever with me?" My ears rang. The air conditioner smelled like burnt dust. I gripped the edge of the hotel desk so hard my nails bent. Lena covered her mouth. "Yes, Mason. Yes." I whispered to the empty room, "Evan, what did you do?" What I found over the next 48 hours was worse than a hidden online romance. Mason Vale was not just a username. Mason Vale was a full life. He had a website, a merchandise store, a private membership group with 2,300 paying subscribers, and a polished biography describing him as a self-made widower rebuilding from nothing. Widower. I was very much alive, sitting in a hotel robe at 2 a.m., shaking so badly my teeth tapped together. He had told his followers that his late wife, Mira, inspired his mission. He used photos of my hands painting client mock-ups, cropped so my face never showed. He posted my old journals from art school, quoting my private words as if they were his. He sold digital courses based on templates I created for my branding clients, charging $497 each. The first twist hit when I found a podcast interview from July. Lena wasn't just his online fiancée. She was the daughter of Gregory Harlan, CEO of Harlan & Pike, a venture firm in Seattle. Evan had been courting her family for investment into Vale & Company. He'd raised $380,000 in founder backing from small investors who believed Mason Vale was launching a business education platform. The second twist made me physically sit down on the bathroom floor. The LLC documents listed a co-manager, Tessa Whitcomb. Evan's sister. Tessa, 39, a real estate agent in Vancouver, had been at my birthday dinner 3 weeks earlier, hugging me while wearing vanilla perfume and telling me, "You two are couple goals." She had notarized documents using an address tied to our house. My house. Our home office. My printer. My signature appeared on one consent form, crooked and wrong, but close enough to raise the hair on my arms. By Friday night, my body felt like it belonged to someone else. I flew home with my hoodie pulled over my face, the airplane air dry and metallic in my throat. Evan met me at baggage claim with roses. "Mara," he said, reaching for my suitcase. "I can explain." I looked at his hand and stepped back. "Did you tell people I was gone?" I asked. His mouth opened, then closed. "It's branding," he said quietly. "A story. Online people need a story." I laughed once, sharp and empty. "You turned me into a ghost so you could sell webinars." At home, every room felt contaminated. The lemon soap by the sink, the gray throw blanket on the couch, the framed wedding photo in the hall, all of it looked staged. I slept in the guest room with Maple pressed against my legs, her fur warm and grounding while my mind replayed Lena saying yes. For 10 days I barely ate. My jeans hung loose at the waist. I called in sick to 2 client meetings and told them I had a family emergency, which sounded too small for what had happened. At 3:16 every morning, I stared at the ceiling fan slicing shadows across the room, wondering how many times Evan had sat downstairs pretending to work while strangers called him Mason. My mother called from Boise and said, "Honey, your voice sounds far away." "I don't know what's real," I told her. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Start with what you can prove." The turning point came on September 26th. I was sitting in my car outside a UPS store, holding a stack of printed screenshots, when Instagram suggested a post from Lena Harlan. It was a photo of her and Evan at Pike Place Market, his arm around her shoulders, her hand lifted to show my grandmother's ring. The caption said, "Some women lose. Some women inspire the next chapter." My vision narrowed until all I saw was that sapphire on her finger. Something inside me went still. Not calm. Sharpened. I whispered, "No. You don't get to wear my family history as a prop." That afternoon, I called a lawyer named Priya Raman, whose office smelled like cedar and strong coffee. She wore emerald glasses and listened without interrupting while I placed document after document on her conference table. When I finished, she tapped the forged consent form with one red fingernail. "This is not just betrayal," she said. "This is evidence." I hired her on the spot with a $7,500 retainer from my separate business account. Then I hired a forensic accountant, Daniel Cho, for $4,200 to trace every dollar that moved between our joint accounts, Vale and Company, and Tessa's real estate business. I changed every password, froze my credit, moved my client files to a secure drive, and installed a second camera in my attic office. The plan was not to scream. It was to document, notify, and let Evan's own lies collapse under their weight. Priya filed for legal separation and an emergency injunction preventing Evan from using my name, image, work, or family property. Daniel found $58,940 transferred from our home equity line into Vale and Company in 6 transactions labeled renovation deposits. I contacted 3 of my clients whose templates appeared in Evan's course and got written statements. Then came the trap. Evan had scheduled a live founder transparency night for October 7th, where he planned to announce Harlan and Pike's investment. Priya sent formal notices to the venture firm, the streaming platform, and Evan's employer, Bright Ledger, attaching only enough proof to make them pay attention. Not everything. Just the hook. "Let him walk into the room thinking he controls the story," Priya said. I nodded, my hands cold around a paper cup of coffee. And then? Then we introduced the truth. Execution began at 5:30 p.m. on October 7th. Rain rattled against my windshield as I sat in Priya's parking lot with Maple's blanket folded on the passenger seat for comfort. My phone buzzed. Daniel had confirmed one more transaction, $12,000 from Vale and Company to Tessa labeled consulting, paid the day after Tessa notarized my fake signature. At 6:05, Evan texted me, "Can we please talk before you do something emotional?" I stared at the message until the words blurred. I typed back, "Everything I'm doing is documented." He called 12 times. I didn't answer. At 6:42, Priya received confirmation that Harlan and Pike had paused the investment meeting and requested Evan appear on a video call with their compliance team before his livestream. At 6:50, Lena messaged me on Instagram. "Who are you really?" My hands hovered over the screen. For 1 second, pity flickered. She had been lied to too, even if she had enjoyed the fairy tale. I replied, "I'm Mara Whitcomb, Evan's wife. The ring is mine. Check your email." At 7 o'clock, Evan went live anyway. His face appeared on my laptop in Priya's conference room, smiling too wide under bright lights. "Vale Nation," he said, "tonight is about truth." Priya raised an eyebrow. "Interesting choice." Then the platform froze his stream. For 6 seconds, nothing moved. The chat exploded with question marks. Evan's smile twitched. My phone rang. "Tessa." I answered on speaker. "Mara, stop this," she snapped. "You're humiliating the family." I leaned close to the phone. "You signed my name." A long silence. Then she said, "You were never going to use those ideas." Evan knew how to monetize them. Priya's pen stopped moving. Daniel, listening from his office on another line, said, "Got it recorded." The climax happened 2 days later in a glass conference room at Harlan and Pike in Seattle. I wore a cream blouse, black trousers, and my grandmother's plain gold wedding band on a chain under my collar. The room smelled like rain-soaked wool and expensive coffee. Evan sat across from me, pale, jaw tight. Tessa sat beside him, arms crossed. Lena was at the end of the table with her father, her eyes swollen but clear. Priya placed a binder in front of Gregory Harlan. This contains proof of misappropriated intellectual property, marital asset diversion, forged consent, and false representations made to investors, she said. Evan leaned forward. Mara is upset. Our marriage has been strained, and she's trying to ruin something important. I looked at him for a long second. His face, once familiar as my own front door, looked like a mask left in the rain. Tell them my middle name, I said. He blinked. What? You built a brand on your tragic love for Mira. You quoted my journals. You sold my work. Tell them my middle name. The room went silent except for the faint buzz of the lights. Evan's lips parted. Nothing came out. Lena slowly removed the sapphire ring and set it on the table. The small click sounded louder than thunder. You told me she passed away, Lena said, her voice shaking. You let me comfort you. Evan turned to her. Lena, I was going to explain after the funding closed. Gregory Harlan stood, buttoning his suit jacket with icy precision. There will be no funding, he said. There will be a referral to our legal department and the appropriate authorities. Tessa's face drained of color. I reached across the table and picked up my grandmother's ring. It was warm from Lena's hand. I closed my fingers around it and felt, for the first time in weeks, my pulse steady. The consequences landed fast and hard. Bright Ledger terminated Evan within a week for undisclosed outside business activity and misuse of company time. Vellum Live permanently removed Mason Vale's account and issued refunds to subscribers from frozen funds. Harlan and Pike sued Evan and Tessa for misrepresentation and recovery of due diligence costs. My clients filed claims over the stolen templates, and Priya negotiated a settlement that returned $96,000 to me, including the stolen home equity money, legal fees, and damages for unauthorized use of my work. In the divorce, I kept the house, my business, Maple, and my grandmother's ring. Evan was ordered to take responsibility for the remaining Vale and company debts. Tessa's real estate license was suspended pending review, and her name became a quiet warning in every professional circle she cared about. The family members who first told me to handle it privately stopped calling after the documents became public record. Lena sent me one message 3 months later, I'm sorry I believed him. I hope you're free. I wrote back, I am. And I meant it. By spring, my branding studio had doubled its revenue. The same templates Evan stole became the foundation of my own course, launched under my real name, with my real story, and it made $74,000 in the first month. I hired 2 designers, painted the attic office a bright clay pink, and replaced every piece of furniture Evan had chosen. On June 18th, what would have been our anniversary, I took myself to Cannon Beach. I walked barefoot along the cold shoreline with Maple racing ahead, the wind whipping tears from my eyes before they could fall. The ocean smelled like salt and pine, and my grandmother's ring rested on my right hand, exactly where it belonged. Evan built a kingdom out of stolen pieces and called it destiny. I brought receipts, patience, and the truth. He lost the audience, the money, the woman, the job, the house, and the name he invented. I kept myself. That was the victory no one could